Today, we're going to talk about something really profound. We're looking at what happens for AuDHD individuals when communication stops being a survival tactic and starts becoming something truly authentic. We are going beyond the survival script.
So let's just start with a huge question, one that kind of reframes this entire conversation. What if all the daily struggles, the absolute exhaustion, that feeling of being just a little out of sync with everyone else, what if that's not a sign of a broken brain? What if it's the sign of a highly intelligent, defended one? An adaptive system that's just doing its absolute best to keep you safe.
And that leads us right into our first act here, the AuDHD survival theater. This is all about that internal world where your nervous system is on constant high alert. A world where every conversation can feel like a performance designed for survival, not real connection.
I mean, think about it. For so many, every single day feels like you're on a stage. You're masking your natural traits, you might be fawning to keep the peace. You're constantly, and I mean constantly, managing how other people see you. This has nothing to do with expressing your true self. It's about running a survival theater to avoid being rejected or getting completely overwhelmed. And man, is it exhausting.
So, what's actually going on behind the scenes of this theater? Well, a really key idea is something called structural dissociation. Now, I know it sounds like a heavy clinical term, but it's basically a mental split. It's the brain's incredibly clever way of compartmentalizing just to cope. One part of you is out there handling daily life, while other parts are tucked away, holding on to all the really difficult, overwhelming stuff.
This breakdown here, it shows that split perfectly. On one side, you've got what's called the apparent normal part, or ANP. This is your public relations manager. It's the part running all the masking scripts, making sure everything on the surface looks normal. But then, on the other side, you have the emotional parts, the EPs. These parts are kept backstage, and they're holding everything else. All the sensory overload, that deep, gut-wrenching terror of rejection, and all those unmet needs, the anger, and even the joy that just feels too big or too vulnerable to show the world.
And here is the crucial takeaway. Running these two systems side by side, constantly monitoring, masking, suppressing, it isn't free. It comes at an enormous cost. It's like a massive cognitive tax that completely drains the very executive functions that are already a challenge for the AuDHD brain. No wonder you feel so tired.
But what if you could actually stop the performance? What if you could leave the stage? Well, that takes us to our second act, rewiring the nervous system. This is where we shift from just understanding the problem to actually exploring the how. How do you heal? And it's all grounded in the science of how our bodies, not just our minds, experience safety.
First things first, we have to talk about the window of tolerance. Just think of it like your personal comfort zone for dealing with stress. When you're inside this window, you feel pretty calm, you're connected, you can handle what life throws at you. But for a lot of neurodivergent people, and especially for AuDHD folks, that window is just narrower, which means even small, everyday stressors can be enough to push your whole system right out of that zone and into dysregulation. A really great way to visualize this is through polyvagal theory, which we can think of as a ladder. At the very top of the ladder is the ventral vagal state. This is where we all want to be. It's where you feel safe, connected, and engaged with the world. But if your system senses a threat, you drop down a rung into the sympathetic state. That's your classic fight-or-flight response, anxious, stressed out. And if the threat feels totally overwhelming, like you can't fight or flee, you can fall all the way to the bottom rung, the dorsal vagal state. That's shut down, freeze, collapse. Okay, so how do we learn to stay on that top rung of the ladder? This slide shows two main approaches. You've got traditional top-down therapy, which starts with your thoughts and beliefs. And that can be helpful, but for this deep kind of rewiring, bottom-up healing is absolutely essential. It starts with the body and the senses. It recognizes that you can't just think your way into feeling safe. Your body has to learn safety on a physical level through somatic work and body-led release. And when that body-led healing really starts to take hold, oh man, it leads us to our third act, the feeling of freedom. This is the payoff. This is what it actually feels like in your bones when those old, rigid defenses finally begin to dissolve. I mean, this quote right here, it just says it all, doesn't it? It's that unbelievable moment you finish a conversation and have this flash of realization like, wait a minute, I didn't plan any of that. There was no internal rehearsal, no over-explaining, no trying to manage the other person's reaction. You were just there. You just spoke. So what does that freedom really feel like on the inside? Well, for one, that constant, exhausting inner debate between all your different parts, it just goes quiet. The words coming out of your mouth are from this moment, right here and now, not from some old, dusty script you memorized years ago. There's this deep, profound sense of internal permission to just be yourself. And your body, it's no longer physically bracing for that hit of rejection. And here are some really practical ways you can tell you're in this integrated state. After a conversation, you can actually remember what you said, and you don't have that awful shame hangover the next day. Your body physically feels more settled, maybe even relieved after you speak your truth. And this one is huge. You can actually pause mid-sentence and say, you know what? Let me rephrase that, without the whole thing triggering a complete self-doubt spiral. So this whole journey, from being defended and split to becoming integrated and free, it all culminates in something truly transformative. And that brings us to our final and most profound act, the emergence of a new felt intelligence. A completely new way of being that can literally reorganize your reality. It all begins when that exhausting, full-time job of performing and managing the self starts to just fall away. And in the space that opens up, something else emerges. Something more intuitive, more direct, and just whole. And this is what we can call felt sense intelligence. It's a deep, embodied wisdom that doesn't just come from your thinking mind. So what on earth is it? Think of it like this. It's when your self-awareness merges with this bigger picture perspective. It's an intelligence that goes beyond the mind. It's not just thinking, and it's not just feeling. It's a deep, visceral, bodily knowing that creates the space for you to act from a place of pure, grounded authenticity. And this comparison just lays it all out. Most of us are busy living in the identity project. It's this virtual self-image we've built from all the stories society told us we should be, and we're compulsively trying to keep it updated. The shift is into embodying the living quality. This is your true, vital, tangible self. It's not constructed, it's an authentic unfolding. It's just real. And you know, living from this place feels like pure flow. That split mind we talked about before, it just melts into one coherent whole. Your words, your actions, they come from a place of deep, soothing truth. That old, noisy chatter of self-doubt and overwhelm gets replaced by this direct, powerful connection to the present moment. It's a feeling of being connected to something much greater than just your small, limited self. And I think this is so important. This transformation isn't about destroying or annihilating the old defended you. It's more like a sacred implosion, a kind of guided inward collapse that takes all those splintered, warring parts and reorganizes them into something whole, something resilient, and something that is more truly you than ever before. And that really just leaves us with this one last question to sit with. And this goes for everyone, neurodivergent or not. What truly becomes possible in our lives, in our relationships, in our work, and in our world when we finally give ourselves permission to stop performing and just start living?